No, Mr. Stork. Okay, we can sign that.
This is a regularly scheduled workshop meeting, March 6, 2017. The notice requirements provided according to the Public Meetings Act have been satisfied. Notice of this meeting is properly given by transmission to the Star Ledger, the Independent, and Georgia Times, and by posting at the Middletown Township Municipal Building and filing with the Township Clerk all on January 5, 2017. Committeeman Fiore.
Here.
Committeeman Middletown.
Here.
Committeeman Severino.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Murray. Here. Mayor Sharkey.
Here.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, I'd like to ask for a moment of silence to honor the troops serving worldwide, defending our freedoms, constitutions, and way of life. Thank you. First item on the agenda, we have for introduction, an ordinance number 2017-3189, repealing section 78-13 of the Code of the Township of Middletown, governing retirement incentives in its entirety.
Move for introduction.
Second. Committeeman Fiore.
Yes.
Committeeman Massell.
Yes.
Committeeman Sedambrino.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Murray. Yes. Mayor Sharkey.
Yes.
Public hearing for this ordinance will be on March 20th, 2017. At this time, I would like to offer the consent agenda, including Resolution 17109 through 17-119. Can I have a motion?
Move for introduction.
Second.
Committeeman Fiore.
Yes.
Committeeman Massell.
Yes.
Committeeman Sedambrino. Deputy Mayor Murray. Yes. Mayor Sharkey.
Yes.
Moving on, we have the regular items for March 6th. The discussion items for March 6th. Scheduled presentations for March 20th, 2017. I believe, Tony, do you have the the backup for the
Oh, yeah.
Their proclamation.
Yeah.
proclamation, so for your review, those are scheduled for.
Recognition. Yes.
The next item is the clothing bin discussion.
Yeah, we drafted an ordinance to deal with the clothing bins, tighten up the rules about them. They're becoming, more and more of a problem, and now they're popping up on vacant properties.
The old Hess station.
The old Hess station is
Yeah.
one. The property on Highway 36 where White Castle, I guess, was going to go, they have now 3 or 4.
Right.
They're really an eyesore. So we're just tightening up some regulations to limit those sorts of locations, limit them to 3 in any given location. And so once it's in place, we can go and start. The ones who have gotten approvals from us, we can make them comply with the new rules and get rid of them on the vacant lots in particular.
Are we finding them?
Well, we don't have an ordinance specifically regulating it just yet.
We have an ordinance regulating there was a law adopted a few years ago that limited, what we could do registration-wise, and so we do register them, we can make them submit applications and do background and to make sure that they're abiding by the rules that we can make them abide by, but there are other land use and zoning issues that this would specifically address in relation to them. So for example, if a site gave permission, one of the things they have to do is show that they were granted permission to put the bins in a certain property. So for example, if they used up some of their parking spaces, that they needed to meet their site plan requirements, well, that's obviously a problem because those spaces aren't available for people to park there. So there are things like that that we can regulate to the land use context that this and would establish some other standards.
Although we're not putting this in the land use section of the ordinance, other than creating them as a listed accessory use. The reason for that is if you put it in there, there would be an argument that the ones existing are pre-existing non-conforming, so you run into a legal battle over that. So they're in the section of the ordinance basically that gives us all of our municipal police power, so that we can apply these and you don't run into land use issues. So the main things are, again, not being on properties where there's abandoned buildings. The other thing is they have to be maintained in good order. Some of them are getting graffiti on them now, or broken doors,
Things hanging out of it.
things hanging out, stuff stacked up next to them. They also can't be in parking spaces. A lot of them put them in required parking spaces, so they diminish the number of spaces in the parking lot. You can't do that either. So this will give us a lot more ability to regulate them.
Does the state regulate exactly what constitutes a charitable organization? Because some of them are just kind of.
Well, what they do is, most of them
Something-
aren't, so
Yeah.
it's a cottage industry. Most of these clothing bins are private companies that own them, that then contract with a charitable organization to be the front person, basically. And they pay them, basically, for the use of their name. So everybody thinks it's going to charity when it's false, frankly, and it's actually going to a shredding facility in Brooklyn.
Right.
Is really what's happening with these clothes that people think they're donating to these charities. Now, the charities are getting donations from it, from the companies that are paying them to use their name, basically, and that's how they're getting around the law. So that's really what's going on.
So, listen, I think since we put this in place, and I know we used to have them at the train station and all of things, I think this has been an effective ordinance, but I have to say, there's a lot of parts of this ordinance here that code enforcement needs to do a better job of also. For example, Part A, I mean, I can count on probably all my fingers and toes a number of gas stations that have clothing bins that have to be 100 yards from flammable liquid or gases. I could show you 2 in Lincroft right now that have clothing bins and have had them in gas stations that are not 100 yards away. So we also, we have some teeth into this that we did this, we also need to regulate and enforce. And I don't think we're, look, we have a lot of things to enforce, but this is a good time to potentially make this another point of emphasis if they're showing up on vacant properties and we didn't.
Right. Okay.
And some of the additions, that's everything in bold, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and that also enumerates how many they want on the property too, which hasn't been there previously, which is good.
That's good. Okay, next item is Jersey Avenue Street vacation discussion.
This is a dead-end section of a street off of Route 36. It's not far from, I guess, Dossels, in the back behind Dossels in that area. And the property would just go to adjacent property owners. The street's never going to be built. I believe it's all wet back there.
It's the street that ends, but it's right.
Yeah, it just ends, that's right.
Okay.
It ends with the dike, the levee, basically.
Okay.
Okay, next item is recreation fee amendments. Amendment to the ordinances.
So my question on the senior center fees here, do we have to have in the ordinance all these fees for every program that we possibly do, like a luncheon? It just seems like we're going to chase our tail every time we want to do a new program by getting fees. Is this customary in every code booking?
Well, if you're going to charge for something, you have to have an ordinance to back it up. You can't, you can sometimes have like ranges of fees, but you have to have a fee in an ordinance somewhere.
Even for programming like this?
Well, if you charge
There's
a
a
fee, you
range.
have to.
Yeah.
There's a range on
Gotta
that.
have an ordinance.
There's not,
regardless of
there's
what
not a
the-
range to some things. There's no range this year.
So,
Yeah, no, I mean, there's not, these are specific fees.
the Atlantic City trip, do they include quarters or?
Yeah, I don't think we give away rolls of quarters.
So every year, we should expect the recreation director to provide a memo to the township committee to anticipate if these fees are still,
Right, short casino,
Right.
price of a lunch.
right, if something moves up, I'd like to know.
Yeah, we do monitor, you know, what we collect on all of these.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the stream dumping ordinance.
I haven't come out
Oh, I'm sorry.
yet. So we go to turf field fees, that's the one I want to spend some time on.
Yeah, so the issue has come up with regard to the turf field fee. And, you know, we established the fee, it's obviously, it's higher than to use a typical grass field. So a couple of issues have come up. One is, you know, we didn't get, people do use the turf fields and do rent them, but also a lot of people just walk onto them because they're not being used, not being reserved that heavily. So the question is, should we consider lowering the fee a little bit? The other issue that's come up is with Middletown Athletic Club, who run the football program. That program is at Field at Croydon Hall. They've asked, well, do they have to pay the higher fee for the turf field, which they would under the way the ordinance is structured. I think they feel like they shouldn't because it's their home field. You know, it's a little different than Nutslum. That's nobody's home field. So if that's, you know, that's an issue I think we need to talk about at some point, make a decision about how we're going to handle that in terms of, I think maybe if we lower the fee township-wide for the use of the turf field a little bit, might encourage some more use, and probably would be something they would be, you know, more amenable to pay.
And you may get more revenue out of it.
Yeah, probably would. Just, you're getting nothing if people aren't paying.
So why don't we just consider then the township turf field fee, which is currently at $50, and the other one, for non-turf, is at $20 weekdays? Why don't we just consider, why don't we just think about $30 for the turf field? So it's still a 50% premium over the
Yeah.
regular fee, but it's still, I mean, for $10 and, you know, to not have to play in the mud and choose the turf. And that's the whole purpose of the turf field also, aside from the games, is to rest grass fields and not create Ted Maloney DPW time and the mud.
Well, the advantage is it's an all-weather surface. You can
Right.
play on it, you know, at any time. So that's the advantage, and that's what you're paying for that. And also, keep in mind, we're people are paying for that to help us pay for the field.
So I think
We
you
spend a
get-
lot of money to
I think
build
you
this
get-
field.
I think you get more usage, and I think the same thing on the weekend.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense.
But I wouldn't do it the same.
Right,
Still think
no,
there
it
has to
can't
be
be.
some kind of premium.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, the new turf field at Croydon Hall, is that going to be football only, or is it going to be striped? like
Stripe for
the
everything,
big-
same as the,
Yes,
same, almost, I think, almost exactly the same as the.
You'll get a
last
lot
one.
more use than I think.
It will.
Sports, you know.
Lacrosse,
Yeah,
football, soccer.
Lacrosse is really picking up. They use that's on field quite a bit, and so if they have a second field for their use, I'm sure it'll be well.
I also think that takes away any question of the Middletown Athletic Club if we were using the $30. It is a improved service.
Right.
It's not that
Yeah, I agree.
egregious.
Okay, we'll draft that up. We'll probably be ready
And
for introduction.
I would ask in shared services if you relay this potential, or once it's passed, so that right now, the Board of Ed is on the same fee schedule as
All right,
us.
they would have to adjust theirs.
I ask that you ask them to adjust things.
Okay.
In the long run, I
Okay.
Okay, the next item now is stream dumping ordinance.
Well, I'm going to kind of combine that with the next one, the ABFE ordinance. These are both ordinance amendments that we need to do for our community rating system. You're familiar with that. The community rating system is basically a point system that gives residents who are required to have flood insurance, they get a discount for the more points we get. And we get, one of the things they now said is, if you have a specific ordinance that says you can't dump in streams, you get points. It's kind of ridiculous because it's totally illegal to dump in streams anyway, but they said if you have an ordinance saying that, you get points, so it's an easy one to do. The ABFE one, if you remember, it's a tortured history, but after the flood maps went into effect, in 2009, the new flood maps went into effect. There was then a period of time where FEMA adopted what we call ABFEs, which was like a new, higher standard, a more current standard for flood insurance maps. And they changed some of the criteria, and they created more V zones, for example, and this all was a huge controversy during and after Irene and Sandy. But now the FEMA's position is we're going to go back to the 2009 maps. So we had, right, we had adopted the ABFEs, and now they want to go back to 2009. So again, we have to, with this is for CRS reasons, we have to eliminate the ABFE
Do we have any more V zones?
We do, but I don't, there's a very, very small amount, I think,
It's the one.
in Leonardo that affects a little bit of, but the same as it always did,
Right.
no more than it was historically.
And does it encompass a residence or just?
A couple,
Yeah.
a couple of houses. The new map expanded it, and particularly in North Middletown, which is really ridiculous.
Yeah.
In North Middletown, where they don't get flooded at all, the V zone really expanded to affect a bunch of private properties with homes on them.
They were bone dry.
Yeah, and their insurance would have been really outrageous if they were in V zone. That, the good news is that's all coming out now, so it'll be beneficial to most people, but it'll also help us with our community rating points. So
Great.
they're very simple ordinances.
Tony, can we, I mean, kind of on the topic, but just expand it, but at some point this year, I mean, we are now 5 years, going into 5 years post-Sandy, and, you know, a lot of the things that we talked about back then was things in compliance, you know, rebuilding compliance with the substantially damaged, and is it possible that we can get, like, another status update from Joe and building to show, like, how many, you know, houses never complied or still haven't complied with
Yeah.
regulations? Because, I mean, I feel that's going to be the next potential issue with the community rating system if there's not compliance.
Right, I think Joe is doing that, just to identify available lots.
Right.
You know, so we can expand it just to include everything.
Because the threat was, if you remember, was if somebody did not comply with these regulations, they would disqualify the whole community rating system, which ultimately led to the higher. So we're making these changes to stay into the CRS and to keep the insurance discounts. The last thing I think we want to do is lose them based on somebody who doesn't elevate and/or make the necessary.
Maybe for the next
compliance.
workshop meeting, I'll have Joe do a report and come to the meeting. We can kind
He's
of
the
update.
floodplain manager, right?
He's the floodplain manager, yeah. Because there is a lot to talk about with that. Sure.
Or the time is hard to compress.
And the other thing that's still hanging out there is that we have some properties that there's been some interest in the property owners to be acquired by the Blue Acres program. That program seems to just be floundering because here's properties that are on Park Avenue, Main Street, and Fort Monmouth. But a little cluster of 4 or 5 properties, but the state doesn't seem to be moving on that program anymore. They're empty houses.
I'm on a panel next Friday at the New Jersey Future Brownfields about just that, redeveloping in flood zones. So there should be somebody from Blue Acres there. It'd be interesting to see.
Yeah, for a while they were like really, you know, not aggressive, but they were really anxious to acquire properties, and now, I don't know what's happening with it, but we have abandoned houses that are just, you know, falling apart, and now they're becoming a problem for the neighbors.
Joe can include that in the report too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You wonder how much that has to do with willingness on the part of the municipalities out there? Maybe, you know,
That is the issue. The issue becomes, if it gets acquired, we then own the property.
Right.
It becomes our responsibility for maintenance, cutting the grass, cutting the weeds, picking up trash. That's the flip side of doing it, but, you know, if not, the house is just gonna fall apart.
Just
time do we have township committee comments?
Okay, Mr. Maselli, you're up.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to hold off my client comments until our regular meeting.
Okay, Mr. Sedambrino.
Mr. Mayor, I have nothing this evening.
Okay, I have a feeling I know the answer. Mr. Diori.
Thank you, Mayor. Now I'm going to reserve my comments for the next meeting.
Okay, we have a full house.
Same, I'm going to make my comments, thank you, Mayor.
All right. The spirit of predictability, I'm going to hold off on mine too.
Okay, next on the agenda is public comments.
Okay, public comments. Before we open up public comments, I just want to remind everybody to please give your name and address for the record, and keep your comments to 5 minutes or less, and ensure that everybody else can speak. Is there anybody from the public who would like to speak? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Carolyn Schwabel on Hamilton Avenue in Leonardo. And I have just two quick topics. One is, you may have heard about, but I sent copies to Chief Weber and Cindy V, our bias person. The Attorney General's office has come up with a great little flyer on how to report any incidents that you're aware of bias or crimes, and tells you how to do it. Plus, especially in this climate at this point where it's getting a little more difficult. And also they're doing some training at Sayreville on, what is it, March 29th, for anybody that's interested. It's from 6 to 9 p.m., 6 to 8:30 p.m. And it looks pretty good. We talked about it today at the County Human Relations Commission. And then I noticed in, I think, several publications, the good news about getting a new town hall at some point. And I just wanted to give you a reminder or a warning that we'd like it to be accessible for everybody. And some things that weren't done here, as the mayor said, that we now would be able to move on to for the ADA. One thing is, in 2012, when they, great old Adam Huber, our buddy Adam Huber, made the whole new accessible town hall at Atlantic Highlands, and we got a tour at that point. And they really did a good job, and one thing I was just going to highlight, and I'll give it to our officials here, but the one thing they have there in the general courtroom meeting is access for people with disabilities. Like they chopped one of the pews in half and then put the little blue sign on, so you can roll your wheelchair right up. It was fun when we did it. Sort of like here, but it's not chopped, so you have to sit in front of it and other people sit in it. Then this one is fun. I don't expect to do this, but somebody younger than me may, or they have access to the dais where the town committee sits, and I was up there on it, not going upstairs, but they have a neat system of ramps behind that get you up there. So it's the kind of thing that can be done. And also, like when you have people going around to shake the committee's hand, instead of going up the steps, they can just go up the ramp and greet you guys. So I thought that was something to be emulated too. I'm not crazy with the pictures that I've seen. I'm no expert. I know we have an architect here. Of the plan, not, it's a concept, I guess, right? It's not a plan of what the town hall is going to look like. But to me, it's not real pretty. It's what I have in mind, like if you've seen the, what's McCloon's in Seabright, the new
gonna look like that.
It
I can
kind
tell you
of
right now,
got
it's not gonna
neat.
look like
It's
that.
got towers and the
Rough
colors
on
all
it.
that. And this one looked a little more, yeah, that's sort of not, like, all different colors. I'm sure you'll get it together, but I hope it was prettier than this one.
I wish we had the view that McLean's has.
Yeah, pretty is also
It would
expensive.
be beautiful.
I think it's insanity.
Oh, sorry.
But the issue with the accessibility to the dais is mandatory now, so it'll definitely be.
Exactly. But sometimes, you know, it doesn't always work out.
Well, it'll work out.
You've
that's
been
what-
there, done that.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to speak? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, we live on 819 Leonardville Road.
Your name?
We've been there.
Dermot Bowen and Laura Van.
Oh, sorry.
One at a time. You can both speak, but just.
Laura Vien, the last name's V-I-E-N, and Dermot Boland, B-O-L-N-D. Our address is 819 Leonardville Road. We're new at this, so we didn't bring documentation. We just wanted to report, we've been there for 4 years, and there've been 8 accidents right on the corner of Leonardville and Hosford, right by Bay Shore Middle School and the elementary. 2 of them, the cars came all the way into our yard, almost up to our columns, our porch, which would have taken down the whole roof. And also right by the gas lines.
Yeah, good. Oh, sorry, you go ahead.
Let me-
Yeah, you just have to.
Yeah, and then so, not only the kids walk by at the corner after school, in the evenings, the stop sign on Hosford is kind of far away in the sidewalk. I don't even see it when I'm looking for it, when I'm driving down that hill. I guess it's called Stillwell on the other side.
Right.
When you're coming down, the last time it happened, it was a young pregnant woman, and her husband broke his hand trying to stop the car, and she had to go to the hospital, and the person had just run the stop sign, hadn't seen it, and sideswiped them. So it's so violent, it goes straight into our yard, and apparently a car went into the side of our house before we moved in. So we know it's a problem for us, and we know it's a problem for all those kids too. And our neighbors all said they would come, but they couldn't come tonight.
You know, it's funny, because I'm going to be up there 2 nights this week for the Project Plus graduation. I come out of Hosford and make the left or the right onto Leonardville, and it's hairy, because, you know, it's like a drag strip there, so I know exactly what you mean. One of the things that I think we can do, and we have somebody who handles traffic issues like this and send them out there and then take a look. I don't know if there's a way we can get sort of like an illuminated or reflectorized stop sign, just so people are aware to stop there, you know.
Yeah, we can.
Maybe that would help.
He has a good idea.
Okay, but we'll stop one, and then we have to, just because it's recorded, and we have to have.
I understand.
But we can send police out there to take a look, and they'll make recommendations, and they've, you know, seen pretty much every scenario, so that's a good first step. But I know exactly what you mean, so it's.
Definitely.
Yeah,
It's just a matter of time before somebody gets.
I used to live on Leonardville Road a little bit further up, and I know I've spoken to the county, it's a county road, and I've spoken to the county exhaustive times, and that speed limit should not be 40 miles an hour, it should be 35. Or,
Right.
you know, I can't say it should be less, because it really should, but it should be 35 like it is in the junction, and that's something that I think we should bring up again, because if there is accident data on Leonardville Road, we should bring that up to the county, we should work with traffic, because I have said, and I know we've all agreed, and I lived on 441 Leonardville Road, that road turns into 55 miles an hour when you have a 40 post.
Right.
It's a residential road, it should be 35, just like they made that change on Swimming River, or wherever they made that change, it should be 35 on Leonardville.
Also, there should be 8 police reports on file connected to our address too.
We're gonna look up on it.
And
You don't need
also,
to bring paperwork.
that's what I know it's on record, and what was the other point? Oh, one of the officers who was helping clean up all the refuge from the last car, which pieces of the car were all over Leonardville Road, he said, I was gonna buy your house, but I knew it was too dangerous.
But you know what, if you want, after we adjourn, we'll get you contact information, this way we can keep in contact and let you know what the status is with them.
Great, so do we need to take, well, I mean, we took pictures of the last big accident, but they didn't come out
Trust me,
very well.
Yeah, I know,
we-
the police more records than you could imagine.
Okay, so we'll hang out.
Yeah.
But just contact so we can let you know, the status, and if somebody wants to get a hold of you to ask.
Great.
I just went to Dermot Poland.
Name and address?
Dermot Poland.
Same address.
819 Leonardville Road. I understand that Leonardville Road is a county road, but Hosford is a town road. And I've seen it in other sections of Leonardo where it, and just a simple warning, like the yellow and black intersection ahead sign, just a few hundred yards up the street, and another sign saying there's a stop sign ahead. That would, I think that would stop most of the things. And also the stop sign as you're heading north on Hosford. The stop sign is on the inside of the sidewalk and it's barely visible. Unless you're familiar with the area, you don't even know it's there. If that was on the curb side or the road side of the sidewalk, I think that itself would make a huge difference.
We'll have to look at that. It might have something to do with the proximity of the sidewalk there too, so we'll have the police look at that.
Because when you make the left from Hosford onto Leonardville, you have to creep up a little bit, just to make sure nobody's zooming up, really quick.
Yeah.
So that's what people do. I think they creep up, and all of a sudden, if they go too far, don't no return.
It seems like most of the instances we've seen that when cars coming north on Hosford to school to the right, and they just can't see that sign. I know it's there, and sometimes I just see it.
Right.
Pretty fast. So that's just a suggestion.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, yes ma'am.
I'm Pat Miller. I live at 151 Borden Road. And I'd like to figure out a way going forward that we could keep updated on the status of the municipal complex and its design. I'm especially interested in seeing the complex be 100% clean energy and drive the energy cost down to zero. That's really a big issue. I won't go into to all the pros, but there really are a lot of pros for designing it that way. And it's better for the economy, it's better for jobs, and of course it's in the long run it's much cheaper because we wouldn't have to pay for our electric power.
We want efficient and less costly as much as we can get, so.
And you are standing in the least efficient
Right.
building in America. I
Well,
promise you
this
that.
just seems like such a golden opportunity to kick that off. I mean, in the long term, I would like to see Middletown take on the 100% commitment to clean energy and be one of the growing number of towns across the U.S. who are doing that. And that could be a real sense of pride and prestige for this community if we could do that.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm John Schwabel, Hamilton Avenue in Leonardville. I just wanted to check on or talk about the Green Acres Improvement Project for the parks, and wanted to see if the improvements on there and the estimates for the ADA improvements on the park are in line with the ADA transition plan that was approved in I guess the last update was approved in 2011 by Middletown. And looking through some of the parks here, and I've gone through some of them and compared the cost estimates in the Green Acres plan with the cost estimates in the ADA transition plan. They don't exactly match up. Like, for example, Tyndall Park, I think on the Green Acres plan, it is on $12,500 for accessible walkways. The ADA plan said $20,000. But, well, which included $1,300 for the golf course, which I guess is not going to be there anymore, so that's not there. But I want to check, when you did the Green Acres plan, did people check with the requirements, or at least the plan in the ADA transition plan?
We did, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Some of that work was already done, like in Tyndall Park, some of the improvements were already done for the ADA transition plan. So these are additional walkways on there. We did look at every park, and also the prices on that original ADA plan actually they were outdated when we got them, but they're more outdated at this point. So
I expected them to be more expensive, but actually some of them are less expensive.
That's because
about the things that you've already done.
we've done some of them already, and we've also done some things in-house where we didn't hire a contractor for them. We did them in-house too.
Well, also for Tyndall Park, we were never going to do the golf course, since we weren't going to reopen it. So
Right,
that's
right.
one thing we did spend on.
If you looked at the plan, it's also like the last date for the schedule for the ADA plan, I think was 2013. And here it's 2017, and a lot of it hasn't been done yet. So wanted to point that out also. And one other point, also, we live by that intersection. That's a bad corner, even if you're coming, like we go east on Leonardville Road to make a left on Hosford to go to the post office. That's a blind corner. That's very bad. And like I said, you going north on Hosford also, it's a blind corner, and that stop sign is bad. So you have to really go slowly to be safe. But like you say, it's a 40-mile-an-hour zone, so it's hard to go slowly there. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. You're up.
Stephen Miller, 151 Borden Road, Middletown. I know many of you because you attended our Oakville Association meetings. I wanted to second Pat Miller's idea. The idea of having a municipal complex as a shining cornerstone of Middletown being 100% sustainable and being advertised as such across the country. It really sounds great to me. And so I really encourage the team that's evaluating the municipal complex to consider the future of Middletown and how this might help us in the future. Second point, somewhat related maybe. I see that the green team is not populated, and I'm not sure, there are 3 vacancies. I'm not sure how much activity there is in that team. Tony's part of the team, and I would really like the green team or equivalent work with the planning director on this vision of Middletown for the future. And I'd like to see the master plan include the element that's the green building and the sustainable environment included in the master plan. I regret that that's not there now because it could be helping this discussion of the municipal complex.
Thanks. Is there anybody else who would care to speak? Seeing no further members of the public come forward, we close the public portion and move for adjournment.
Second.
Chairman Fiore?
Yes.
President Massell?
Yes.
President Sedambrino?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Murray?
Yes.
Mayor Shelton?
Yes.